Every once in a while, we like to kind of keep up to speed on what's happening with employment, unemployment numbers, all that kind of a thing. So we check in with Chris Burkhard, Placer Staffing in Newark. We're doing it this morning. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Good morning, Pete. Happy Thursday.
Yeah, they're all pretty good. It's been a few since we've talked last. The unemployment numbers keep getting lower as hopefully we're getting closer to pre-COVID levels. What are your thoughts on that and what we're kind of seeing right now taking shape in the job market?
Well, Pete, I always try and do a little digging to find out what's going on below the number. So hopefully I've got some good stuff to share. This week's number, I think it just reflects the gradual but consistent trend in improving numbers. It's going to be a choppy recovery. You've got the subsidies ending in unemployment in just a few weeks, and I think workers are responding. You've got COVID cases on the rise and perhaps some mandates with masks or vaccines coming. The general positive trend with some bumps along the way, and I really think we're learning to live and work with COVID. But I found some things. A lot of the unemployment spiked last week is we keep hearing about these supply chain issues, and the auto industry had some layoffs that were really temporary in the last couple of weeks because they had to stop some lines. And then on the positive side, if there is ever a positive side to an increasing in unemployment numbers, I may have mentioned over the last year or so as I've been on here about there's an unexplainable lost couple of million people that aren't collecting unemployment but aren't looking for work. And there's a thought that maybe some of that lost million is starting to go feel comfortable, feel safe, registering for unemployment but starting to look for work.
Yeah. If someone is still looking, Chris, or impacted by layoffs right now, COVID shifted so many to remote work out of necessity. And now people are wanting to maybe continue working this way. How are job seekers, employees, employers adjusting to this higher demand for remote work?
Well, when we talk to many about changing jobs, their first or second question is this a remote role?
Yeah.
This is so on the workforce mind, and quality of life is absolutely number one. Their life has improved with flexibility, and the only thing that seems to matter more is their paycheck. So companies that are embracing this work from anywhere approach are now making every hire optional hire. Or on the flip side, firms are finding that they are competing more for talent. It's like a great democratization of work right now because as you make jobs remote, you no longer have to live in a small market. You no longer have to compromise and work in a big city with a long commute with expensive housing. But there is kind of a dark side. A lot of small towns are now being what I would call poached. Big companies that are recruiting nationally, they're trying to recruit away their core talent. So the war for talent is real, and it's really now everywhere. Now, a job seeker that really is interested in this, remote work, the hardest challenge for a worker is they have to demonstrate that they have the skills to do remote work. And there's really three key points for the job seeker. Okay. Are you self-motivated? But most importantly, how do you demonstrate that on your resume and in the interview? Because you have to be able to do work on your own. Are you organized? And how do you prove that out to a company? And the toughest part is how do you have the experience to do remote work and how do you highlight it? If I don't have it, how do I convince someone the first time that I can do it?
Yeah. Some people, whether they realize it or not, are just better as employees if someone's kind of over their shoulder, and remote work may remove that to large extent. The Biden administration. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You've got to be tech savvy, and you have to have these skills, and then you're in a better spot. Yeah,
there's all kinds of things to consider, but it's a fascinating shift, I think, for sure. The Biden administration, Chris, is actually coming up with a lot of regulatory changes that are a work in progress right now, ultimately designed to increase worker pay, other benefits like that. What are some of the highlights of what might be coming?
Well, I've got a couple of things. A lot of folks may have seen, but last week it was announced that the government's in the process of raising the minimum wage specifically for federal contractors or businesses, private businesses that work with the federal government. And that'll go to $15 an hour. And the key thing to that, that a lot of the private businesses are sort of up in arms because it's going to raise costs and maybe they won't be competitive. But it probably won't go into effect till next year, and it'll phase in as there's new government contracts. Again, the whole movement towards what is a livable wage. Another really interesting one is there's a proposal on the table to limit the use of a tipped minimum wage. If you're a server or a bartender, there's 11 million restaurant workers that get $2.13 an hour as a base pay, and then they make up most of their pay in tips. But what this proposal will do is there's always a lot of work that isn't directly related to serving, cleaning or filling salt and pepper shakers or restocking. They'll have to be paid, a regular wage for that work as opposed to a tip wage. The other stuff is sort of, I'll just say, loosely, undoing some of the Trump stuff. Mm-hmm. And not all of this, I think, is particularly good, especially in a world that is embracing so much contractor or freelance labor. But one of them was going to be easier for businesses to classify that gig worker, an Uber driver or a freelance marketing person. And some of that stuff is now the rules are kind of cloudy.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a full plate for sure. You know what I realize we haven't talked about in a while, and I want to give you the opportunity to share for people that don't know what My Placers is all about.
Well, it's very kind of you. So we really help people who are in transition. I like to think of us as an agent to the workforce. Everybody's got an expert around them to help them with other facets of life, but I find with the volatility of jobs and the number of times people need to think about their career that they need that friend. So if someone's thinking about how to interview or how to put together their resume, or quite frankly, even how to ask for more money with their current job, we feel that placers should be around to provide that service. And of course, we help a whole lot of companies figure out how to use interim or contract or temporary employees. And we find a whole lot of people jobs in the state of Delaware.
Yeah, you do. Chris Burkhard, Placer Staffing in Newark, joins us on occasion, joining us today. Thank you so much, Chris. We will talk again soon, sir.
Look forward to it, Pete.
All right. Thanks very much.